Christina sat in silence for a moment, leaning against Rob's chest as she smoked her cigarette. Michelle, Cara, and Liz were enjoying the atmosphere. The music was pumping, and the drama from earlier had resurfaced. The guests began getting up and moving about, and a few of them were getting ready to leave. Kelly, Whitney, and Julie made their rounds, saying goodbye to the other guests and to Cara with heartfelt thanks, parting hugs, and kisses. Craig and Maria followed suit, exchanging farewells with everyone before heading up the driveway together. Colleen, Dina, and Tracy departed alongside Tanya and Nicole, offering their thanks to the hosts and expressing appreciation to Cara for a lovely dinner and an enjoyable evening. Meanwhile, Cris slipped back into the pool house as the crowd began thinning. She paused for a brief hug with Cara and gave a warm thank you for the invite. Anthony, Joe, and Lorenzo began gathering their things to head out, while Pete and Richard chose to linger a bit longer, keeping Gionni company. Before the trio departed, they exchanged farewells with Gionni, praising the food and reflecting on how great it was to reconnect with everyone. Gionni offered a wave and wished them a warm goodnight as he disappeared into the kitchen. Pete and Richard moved inside to take a break from the flashing lights and the dance floor. The remaining guests of the party cluster on the deck, the warm night air buzzing with leftover party energy, and that unspoken secret no one wants to surface. Cara and Michelle exchange tight smiles. Liz watches Christina wobble at the rail, oblivious, a half-empty wine glass dangling from her finger. Rob stands too close, hand hovering near Christina's back. Bill and Kathy chat by the railing, blissfully unaware. She's tanked. If we bring it up now, she'll just slur us into oblivion, and Bill will be blindsided, Michelle says, her voice low and urgent. Agreed. Let's ride it out. We'll circle back when she's sober, Cara nodded. At this rate, she'll pass out before leaving. No point in an ambush, Liz chuckled. They settle into an uneasy silence until Christina, glass in hand, suddenly pivots towards Rob and slurs, loud enough for the group to freeze. Rob, ever since that weekend in Cape Cod, you and me, no one knows, but I've been dying to tell Bill. To tell someone. I can't keep lying, she says loudly. It can't be that bad, babe. You guys are swingers. You know the ropes by now, he whispers back. Time stalls. Bill's laughter dies on his lips. Kathy's eyes go wide. Michelle grips Cara's arm as her jaw clenches. Liz leans in, listening. Christina, what are you talking about? Bill turns around slowly, his voice tight. Christina blinks at him, confusion and defiance warring in her gaze. The night just got a lot heavier. Bill grips the railing, knuckles white, searching for Christina's eyes for confirmation and feeling a hollow ache settle in his chest. Rob's posture goes rigid. His hand falls from Christina's back. Every muscle locks as embarrassment, guilt, and dread collide on his face. He glances at Michelle and Cara as if begging for an escape route. Michelle steps forward, breath hitching. Her eyes flick to Cara, slightly pleading. Should I intervene? Cara's mouth parts, then closes. She presses a hand to her heart and sinks into a tense lean against the railing. Every instinct screams to protect Bill, but she's torn between sympathy for Christina's confession and fury at the betrayal. If you don't say something now, I'm going to, Liz says sharply, glancing over at Michelle. Shoot, Michelle whispered back, firmly. Liz clears her throat and fixes her posture. Sounds like you have got a lot of explaining to do, Christina, Liz slurs, closing her legs. Why don't we start with the fact that you've been lying to us this entire time? Does Bill know about your secret affair with Rob? I think you made things pretty clear when you said you had a tight marriage contract with your husband, and that if either of you were going to break the rules, your entire lives would be crushed. Liz frowned. Michelle met eyes with Liz and then continued. Are you trying to make Bill jealous? Because it seems like your relationship with Rob is more than just a silly hookup. Well, darling, Christina replied, taking another sip of wine. Well, darling, Christina replied, taking another sip of wine. Rob definitely knows I'm a swinger. He's known about that from the start of our relationship. But Rob is just a friend. We're just having fun, ain't we? She laughed loudly. Rob nodded in agreement, wrapping his arm around Christina's waist. Bill rolled his eyes and took a sip of his drink, not paying much attention to the conversation. Follow-up question, Michelle blurted out, covering her mouth. What does Bill have to say about all this? Are you just playing an act and trying to lie that he's not comfortable with the polyamory in your marriage? 'Cause he seems pretty silent and doesn't seem to care about any of this, Michelle said, hoping to catch Christina in a lie. She replied, waving her hand nonchalantly. He's fine with it. He's just not as expressive as we are. She leaned into Rob's arm and snuggled up to him. Bill finally spoke up, his voice flat. Yeah, I'm fine with it. It is what it is. He took another sip of his drink. I don't find any of this to be true. I think Rob isn't married, and I think that Bill brought a date to the party here so he wouldn't feel uncomfortable seeing you with Rob. Don't you find that to be a bit weird? Michelle said, glancing at Cara. Cara continued, It's also a little weird that you act all defensive about this when we clearly know you're lying. You specifically told us that Bill doesn't know about your secret affair with Rob, and that you follow a strict contract, which means that you need to tell each other about your affairs. It doesn't sound right to me, Cara shrugged, finishing her thought. Christina snapped back, her patience hanging by a thread. Listen, darling, she sneered at Cara and Michelle. You don't know what goes on in our relationship. Just because we're more open about our stuff doesn't mean that you have a say on how we run things. She sneered, loud enough for half the room to hear. Who the hell even are you to be asking all this? No one knows you. You just waltzed in here acting like Judge Judy. You're so caught up in your little affair with Rob that you don't even realize you're losing your husband's trust in the process of it, Michelle said, losing her patience. Christina's face turned red with anger as Cara and Michelle confronted her. You don't know what you're talking about, she snapped, her accent becoming thicker in her frustration. You're both just jealous because you ain't as open and as free as we are. Rob tightened his grip on her waist, trying to calm her down. Calm down, babe, he whispered in her ear. Bill remained silent, sipping his drink and watching the confrontation unfold. Jealous? What, of you and your pathetic excuse for a marriage? Cara retorted, her own anger rising. We're just calling it like we see it, honey. You're playing a dangerous game, and Bill's just sitting there like a coward, too afraid to stand up for himself. Michelle chimed in. Yeah, and your little act of pretending like everything's fine is bullshit. You're screwing around with another man in front of your husband's face, and you expect us to turn a blind eye? You don't understand, all right? Christina snapped, her accent becoming thicker as her frustration grew. You don't get that because you ain't in my situation. Bill ain't gonna leave me. He's too much of a wuss for that. Cara rolled her eyes. Oh, please. You think he's not gonna wake up one day and realize he deserves better than your lying, cheating ass? Are you kidding me? It's a fucking open marriage. He knows I'm swinging with Rob, and I'm fine if he's swinging with Kat. You know, you got a lot of nerve questioning me about this. I can tell you don't have a clue as to what polyamory even is in an open marriage. Just keep your fucking mouth shut. And who cares if Bill found out about the affair? He had an affair with someone, and I knew about it. He knows now, so I guess I can't hide anymore. Like I said, with these rules, it's not like cheating is wrong or anything, Christina said, rising up from her seat. Rob tried to pull her down as she forced his grip off of her. Open marriage? More like a clusterfuck, Cara snapped, her voice rising with anger. You're fooling yourself if you think this is healthy, and don't even get me started on your bullshit rules. Michelle nodded in agreement. You're making a joke out of your marriage, and you don't even realize it. You're just a bunch of prudes who don't understand the complexities of our relationship. Open marriages ain't for everyone, and we're perfectly fine with what we have. Cara rolled her eyes. Oh, please. Don't feed us that bullshit. You're just using this so-called open marriage as a way to cheat on Bill without feeling guilty about it. After a while of silence, Bill finally has the courage to say something. He takes the napkin out of his lap and slams the table furiously. You know what? He started off firmly. Christina and I are happy together, and that's all that matters. We've been married for 20 years, and we are happy being swingers. She's not a liar, and she's not making up things to justify her actions. I don't mind if she has a little fun in our marriage as long as I know who she's swinging with. She is a grown woman, and she doesn't need clarification from her husband to go out with Rob. That's the point of an open marriage, isn't it? As long as I know who she's seeing, I'm okay with it, Bill says, sitting back in his chair. He had hoped that with some clarification, they would stop talking about it and leave him out of it. Christina sat there in silence for a moment, stunned by her husband's unexpected defense. Rob, who had been silent for most of the argument, glanced at her nervously, waiting for her reaction. Cara and Michelle were also taken aback by Bill's unexpected interjection. I can't believe what I'm hearing, Cara murmured under her breath. Michelle shook her head in disbelief. So you're telling me you're okay with your wife sleeping around with another man? Hello? No shit. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said all that. I think I made myself pretty clear, ladies, and I don't appreciate how our marriage has become a class act to all of you. It's disrespectful as hell, with or without permission. We're free to have other partners while being married. Trust is a huge factor in all of this. We trust each other, otherwise we probably wouldn't have signed a contract agreeing to all of this. I think I've cleared up everything, so unless Christina has a defense about the situation, I think we should just move on, Bill said stubbornly. He was raged at the fact that Cara and Michelle kept prying questions onto him and his wife about their marriage. Cara and Michelle exchanged looks of disbelief. They hadn't expected Bill to defend Christina's affair so passionately, especially not in front of all their friends. We're not sorry about calling you a liar and a phony, Christina. You know exactly what you are and what game you're playing. Michelle shook her head. Christina's eyes narrowed in anger, stung by Michelle's words. Cara tried to soothe the situation. Look, we didn't mean to insult anyone. We were just curious about your arrangement. You're a fucking bitch, Cara, Christina murmured under her breath. You have a lot of nerve, you know that? Christina rose up from the table again, her anger fuming. A lot of fucking nerve, she said, slamming the table. Cara's eyes flashed in anger at Christina's insult. She stood up, ready to defend herself. Excuse me? What did you just call me? Michelle quickly stood up and tried to intervene, placing her hand in front of Christina and Cara. Christina, please stop. We don't need to resort to name-calling. Christina yelled again. A fucking bitch. You heard me? She said, flipping the plates as she slammed the table again. As she insulted Cara, she slurred a little bit and her balance was a bit unstable. She picked up her wine glass and rose it into the air, getting ready to throw it. How fucking dare you question my marriage like that? She swore, throwing the glass. The glass was chattering as it hit the table, and the broken shards fell right into Cara's lap. The guests amongst the table were shocked to see Christina's defense. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Cara exclaimed, jumping back from the table. What the hell, Christina? She was stunned that Christina had lost her temper so quickly. Michelle quickly moved to Cara's side. Are you okay? She asked, assessing the situation. For fuck's sake, Christina, control yourself, Bill shouted, standing up and trying to intervene. What the hell? Rob shrieked. Christina was too drunk to care, but before she laid a hand on Cara, Gionni heard the noise from the kitchen and stepped outside. Christina, what the hell is going on? He said, looking down at the broken glass on the deck. Christina turned her attention to Gionni. Mind your own business, Gionni, she snapped, slurring her words. This ain't got nothing to do with you. Bill grabbed Christina's arm, trying to stop her. Babe, let's just go inside and cool down, okay? He pleaded, trying to diffuse the situation. Christina yanked her arm away from him. Don't tell me what to do. I ain't finished talking. This is my house, and I think you're done here. It's time to go, Christina. You need to apologize to my wife. She was just asking a simple question, Gionni shouted, throwing his hands into the air. Well, I'm sorry. I don't like being fucking interrogated here. When I need to defend myself, I will, Christina said, slamming the table. Gionni shook his head in disbelief. You're not sorry. You're just drunk, and you're making a complete fool out of yourself. He stepped closer, his voice firm. Get a grip on yourself, Christina. Christina scoffed, her words still slurred. Who do you think you are, scolding me? You're not my husband, Gionni. Yeah, well, I don't think Bill is too pleased with your behavior either, Gionni shouted, his face turning red. Bill looked up at Gionni, shaking his head. Cara tried to stand up with the help of Liz and Michelle. There was glass underneath the table, underneath the chairs, and all over the table. She tried to stabilize herself against Michelle's chest as she flipped Christina off. Christina, I don't know what I did to get you so pissed off, she stated. All I was doing was asking a simple question. You could have refused to answer for all I care. But no, you had to get completely wasted at my party and act like a fool. God, have some fucking class, Cara swore, slamming her hand on the table. I'm sorry I questioned you like I was a news reporter, but Michelle and I were just genuinely curious and concerned about your situation with Rob and Bill. That doesn't give you the right to get angry and throw a glass. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? Liz shouted. Christina rolled her eyes, her demeanor still aggressive. Oh, so now I'm the bad guy? You were sticking your nose in my business, and I ain't gonna explain nothing to you or anybody else. So, why were you so open about it then? You told us all about your affair, and you said you were following a contract. And you lied about the fact that Bill knew about your affair to stir up all this shit. Your behavior is irrational, and frankly, it's not wanted here, Michelle said. Christina's face flushed with anger, her drunkenness making her even more aggressive. She pointed a finger at Michelle. You think you know everything, don't you? You sit here on your high horse and judge me, but you're not perfect. You have no idea what I've had to go through. Cara interjected, her voice filled with irritation. That's not the point, Christina. This isn't about who's perfect or blameless. It's about your behavior tonight. You crossed a line. Christina brushed off her dress and tried to stand up straight with the help of Rob and Bill. You both should apologize. You got a great career going for yourself right here. You would be great on TMZ. She took a sigh, trying to stabilize herself. Cara sat up as she tried to assess the damage to her body. Apologize? Apologize for what? You attacked us. Christina wiped her mouth, still swaying a bit. I didn't mean to get carried away, she slurred, looking at the ground. I'm sorry. Cara was still panting from the scuffle, her breath heavy. Sorry isn't gonna cut it, she spat. You lost your goddamn mind. Gionni nodded in agreement. Christina, you can't just attack people like that, Gionni added, holding her steady. I'm sorry, Cara. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm so intoxicated, I just thought I would be able to put things to rest if I fought back, but instead I made things worse. I just get really defensive when someone brings up my marriage. I feel like I'm being judged. Christina shook her head, wiping her mouth with her arm. Cara sighed, the adrenaline coursing through her veins slowly subsiding. That's no excuse, Christina, she said firmly. But we weren't interrogating you in any way. We weren't being judgmental either. We were just trying to get to the bottom of things. We're sorry too. Despite her drunkenness, Christina felt ashamed and guilty. She had let her emotions get the best of her, and her behavior had caused harm. Cara's anger subsided as she saw the remorseful expressions on Christina and Bill's faces. The adrenaline that had fueled her earlier faded away, leaving her feeling drained and shaken. She took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. We just wanted answers. That's all, she said quietly, her voice tinged with exhaustion. We weren't trying to attack or judge you. Bill nodded, his expression solemn. I know, and Christina knows that too. She just gets defensive sometimes. It's a touchy subject for us. Cara sighed, rubbing her forehead. I can tell. She took another deep breath, feeling the tension easing between her and Christina and Bill. But that doesn't justify her lashing out like that. She's got some serious anger management issues. Christina wiped her face and winced in pain. I know sometimes I can be a bit talkative and defensive after I've been drinking. As you mentioned before, Cara, there's a time and a place for everything. You should have brought this up to me in private. I would have been happy to answer any questions you had. I apologize for throwing the glass and letting my anger take over. You threw this most wonderful party tonight, and I still found some way to ruin it. I understand if you can't forgive me after this. I get it, she says, tearing up. Cara sighed, her anger slowly giving way to understanding. She took in Christina's tear-streaked face, and the genuine regret etched on her features. Michelle, who had been quietly observing the exchange, placed a hand on Cara's shoulder. Maybe we should put this behind us. Christina said she's sorry. Let's all take a deep breath and move on, okay? Cara nodded, her eyes fixed on Christina. Yeah, she said softly. Let's do that. I promise to move on as long as you won't bring up my marriage or the fact that I'm a swinger. I mean, it's not really a big deal. We're all in different stages of our lives, and we shouldn't judge one another or pry one another to answer questions, Christina sighed. Cara nodded, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. Okay, that's fair. We won't bring it up again, I promise. Michelle chimed in, her tone softer now. And we'll be more considerate about asking personal questions in the future. Christina nodded, appreciating their understanding. Thank you. I just get really defensive when it comes to my marriage. It's a touchy subject for me, and I prefer to keep it private. Cara took a moment to compose herself, feeling the weight of the situation settle over her. She looked around at the aftermath of the argument, the broken glass and the remnants of their ruined party. She sighed softly, feeling a sense of sadness wash over her. After a few moments, Cara spoke softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I just want to forget about what happened. Let's just move on from this, okay? Cara's gaze shifted to Christina, their eyes meeting briefly. There was a glimmer of compassion and understanding in her eyes, and she gave a small smile before turning away. Christina smiled back weakly, still feeling the weight of her actions weighing on her conscience. She knew she had messed up, and she felt guilty for ruining Cara's party. Bill held on to Christina, guiding her as she stumbled to her feet. Come on, babe, let's go home. You've had enough tonight, he said, his hand gripping her arm to keep her steady. Christina nodded, her voice weak. Yeah, I think I need to sleep this off. She casted a quick glance back at the others, her eyes still watery from tears. Rob joined Bill's side, helping to support Christina. Let's get you home, all right? You need some rest after all that. The four of them stumbled their way off the deck and climbed into an Uber at the end of the driveway. Gionni watched as the disaster crowd left the party. Pete and Rich were next to leave, bidding their goodbyes to Liz, Michelle, Cara, and Gionni. A few minutes later, Liz stood up and brushed the glass off her dress. Whew, what a fucking night, she commented softly. Michelle nodded. From an unexpected guest to a stripper showdown and then a swinger blowout, this was definitely a night to remember. Michelle and Liz decided to leave together. They bidded their goodbyes to both Cara and Gionni, thanking them for a wonderful night, even though things got out of hand towards the end. Cara nodded in agreement, a weary smile on her face. Yeah, tonight was a whirlwind. I never expected things to escalate like that. Gionni approached Cara, rubbing her shoulder for support. You okay? He asked, concern written all over his face. Cara took a deep breath, trying to steady her frazzled nerves. I'm okay, she said softly. Just a little shaken up. Gianni's expression softened, his hand still gently massaging her shoulder. You put on a brave face out there. You handled yourself really well. Cara gave a gentle smile. Thanks, honey. I've learned we always have to be prepared when it comes to parties like these. Gionni chuckled softly, amused by Cara's words. "You're always so organized and prepared for everything. It's one of the things I love about you." He leaned in and kissed her forehead gently. Cara and Gionni entered their bedroom and closed the door softly behind them, shutting out the chaotic memories of the night. Cara kicked off her shoes and slipped out of her dress, feeling the cold night air hit her bare skin. Gionni approached her from behind, wrapping his arms around her waist, his touch gentle and comforting. "That was quite a night," he murmured against her neck, his breath warm against her skin.